Hey guys, all right, Mr. Wall back again. So I just wanted to touch base about the history from yesterday. So the web quest, I mean, this one is a little more straightforward than the other one because you're not watching videos. You're really just looking at that one website that's linked at the top of the handout. If the link doesn't work, what you can do is you just copy and paste the link into the browser window and you hit enter and it'll bring you right to the site. Okay, so history, the reason I use that is it shouldn't be restricted. Everybody should have access. All right. I know there's a lot of questions, but the questions will actually guide you through the reading. And you'll see at the top of each section, it tells you, okay, I'm dealing with carpetbaggers here. I'm dealing with scallywags here. And you can click, there's a little directory at the top, all right? And like you can click on there and it'll bring you down, like a table of contents, it'll bring you down to that section of the article, all right? So it's actually very navigable. But I do want to go over that tonight because the web quest you guys have been kind of dragging a little bit. I know we're getting used to it, all right? But at this point, you guys have had enough time that we should be able to go over all these questions tomorrow. If you're confused, that's okay. Just do your best with it. That's all I ever ask, right? Now, with regard to the editing, all right, we've done an editing checklist before. I think because you guys are at home, I wanted to give you a little bit more of a simplified version. So I actually borrowed one from someone else. I think it's pretty good. There's just a little couple tweaks, but we'll talk through those, okay? Again, you're basically got the hard part done. If you're into your second draft, it's going to be some minor edits, and you're done. That's it for the writing, all right? So the bulk of my portion will be done, hopefully by the end of this week, all right? So today we'll talk about some edits. Tomorrow we'll talk about some edits. I'm sending anybody who had left their first draft at school, I've sent that home, or I'll be sending it home within like 10, 15 minutes from now. And if you have questions or concerns about that, let me know. But you should, at this point, by noon today, you should all have what you need to work on for the next few days. All right. So here, let me show you the handout that I created, or well, someone created for me and I kind of reduced. Sorry guys, 2 more seconds. Here we go. All right. All right, so we have it here, all right? And the editing, this first part you guys have already seen, you're familiar with it. That's really almost like word for word from my previous edition. All right, but we want to remember that we indent all of our paragraphs, all right? And so I think I call it my rule of thumb. Use your thumb, all right? And just at the top of the line, put that in so that there's enough of a space to see that you're indenting the first sentence of a paragraph. It helps break up the thing, all right? Break up your paragraphs. Now, the advantage you guys have here is your project's in sections. So you really only need to indent for a paragraph maybe once or twice, depending on how much you have written in each of those sections, okay? Number 2, all sentences start with a capital letter. Pretty straightforward. I think you guys can handle that. All right. The more important one, though, is number 3. I use capital letters on proper nouns. So remember, if it's an animal's name, not a tiger, but if it's a Bengal tiger, we're capitalizing that because Bengal is actually a place and a name. All right. Armadillo. All right. I guess we could do, right? Because there's only like one type. But you want to basically make sure you're capitalizing places, all right, and the names of animals. But if it's just a tiger, a lion, that can be lowercase because that's not a proper noun. 4, I have punctuation at the end of each sentence, all right? That's important. So most of your sentences are going to end with a period. Maybe a question mark if it's like, your hypothesis statement at your beginning. All right, but an exclamation point, try to avoid those, okay? I know that you're excited to teach people about this, but let that show in your presentation and your writing. We want it to be much more formal, okay? So periods after every sentence. Even if you're doing bullet points, I want them in full sentences. All right, I've checked my words for correct spelling. When I went over your edits, a lot of you did a great job of just identifying words that you weren't sure about. So you just go back in the dictionary, you check, and that's it. Once you got it right, you're good, all right? So the second part of the revision, this is where some of the tweaks take place, okay? So who will read my work? Will they find it interesting? That's just a question to kind of ask yourself. So you want to, same with if we were writing a short story or if we're doing a project. We don't want to bore people to death. We want to put in language and facts that would interest them, that makes them, hey, why are they reading this? Think about what purpose are they trying to get out of reading this? They want to learn. They want to be excited about this biome. That's what you want. Did I start my story with an interesting introduction that will make the reader want to read more? All right, so a lot of you, it's structured that we're going to do our introduction, kind of introduce the biome and any additional types of animals or not biomes. I'm sorry, I'm trying to think of the word. Like other environments within your biome, right? If they have that, get excited about it. Maybe it is a chance for an exclamation point here, depending on like what you're saying. But not only is my biome one of the rarest on Earth, but it also has other environments within it, and supports this much life, whatever it might be. So it could be, if you're in the desert, the fact that there's only a few deserts around the world, right? That's an interesting fact. Rainforest, same thing, but there's rainforests, the advantage they have, right, is the amount of life in them. All right, so make sure you mention that. That's how you're going to intrigue your reader. All right, did I use transition words on my body paragraphs and my conclusion paragraph? These are things like in conclusion, all right, or, another example, all right? These are things that help the reader know that you're kind of continuing on with what you're writing. Will my sentences paint a picture in the reader's mind so they can visualize what I've written about? All right, you want to describe as much as you can, especially now. You guys have the challenge of, we're going to try to do this so we have like a video presentation of your projects, but you got to have to use your words to paint the picture more so than normal, because you're not going to be in front of the class presenting anymore. All right, so really try to use like figurative and creative language to help build and bolster and boost up your writing. So again, this idea of keeping it interesting. All right, you want to make sure your sentences focus on the topic. All right, and that all of them make sense. All right, interesting words that the reader will enjoy. All right, you can, again, try not to get bogged down in the scientific words. Try to, again, put things that you can in your own language, and that'll help keep the reader's interest. They won't get overwhelmed with all this new vocabulary. And then, speaking of vocabulary, have I ever overused any words or phrases? All right, so if you are starting the same sentences, another animal, or another plant, you got to come up with a different way of saying that. So maybe another plant, another example is, there are also these animals found, something like that. Just make sure you're alternating your word use. All right, and lastly, is my conclusion effective? Does it end the story? All right. So our conclusion is kind of our wrap-up of the whole project. Don't just say, this is my project, thank you for listening, but maybe kind of highlight some of those facts that you found very interesting, remind readers about, and close it there. All right? You're not going to use your bibliography to close. That's just more for, or your works cited, that's just more for Rabbi and I to understand where you got your information from. All right? So I know editing on your own without me to help answer questions is tough, but I'd like you guys to go through this version of your draft on your own, all right? And then what we can do is you can email me what you have, and I'll look through them and give you some insights. But again, you should be patting yourselves on the back, because once you're done with this edit, that's the hard part of the writing, okay? So we're still figuring out whether or not we're going to do like the flip book, just because it might be tough at home. You guys might not have construction paper, that kind of thing. But we'll figure something out. But that's really just transferring your information from one place to another. So if you have computer access, I definitely recommend typing, all right? The nice thing about typing is you don't have to actually rewrite. You can just copy and paste, just like you would, a website, like I was saying before. If you don't, that's okay. We're absolutely okay accepting, handwritten stuff. And I mean, again, like pictures or the file sent is fine, all right? So I want you guys to take this attempt, look over your writing, like I said. There's maybe 2 more drafts that I'm sending back to people right now. All right, so that means all of you should have what you need for the Biome project. All right, and again, as always, if you have questions, concerns before Zoom or during Zoom or after, shoot me an email and I'll get to them as I can. All right, looking forward to seeing you guys at 4:30.